Hello, we are in this new gate, gate 18, and so we explore today the first line. This is called conservatism. When you start here with the first line, it sounds like the other lines. You know, the 32 one is conservation, the 28 one was preparation, and here we have conservatism. You see, it's a similar theme that goes through all the first lines. This is genetic continuity I've mentioned before. So you can see the basic nature of the first line through the way it plays out in all the different gates. Remember that every time you look at a line, especially the first line, you're seeing the framework, you're seeing the foundation. All first lines carry with it the need to establish that firm foundation, the foundation for the whole hexagram. Foundation of the 18th gate is given in this lifetime learning, which says the adherence to traditional patterns despite and or in spite of changing circumstances. And the exaltation says gradual modification to avoid eventual upheaval, the potential to correct through gradual modification of judgments. It's like the way you feel about a parent when you're growing up with them, and then how you feel about them when you become a parent yourself. Well, this is the nature of the first line, because it's a totally different process. This is the gradual modification of judgments, but basically it's very conservative. Well, it's not throwing everything out and starting again. It's saying, okay, well, let's gradually, let's just go slowly. Let's not upset too much here. Now the 18, it leads to gate 48, and it does that both in the wheel and it does it through the process in the stream. It's the next gate along in this logical collective process. And it's all part of what's called the stream of taste. It runs from the 58 in the root, it goes up from the 58 to the 18, crosses the splenic to the 48, and then goes up to the 16 for expression out of the throat. So it's deeply connected. The 48 and the 18 very deeply connected to each other, very similar to each other in some ways. If you think of the 18 as a kind of leaky tap, every drop represents a moment by moment judgment call, a moment by moment like or dislike, according to your own taste. And yet one dislike or one like is not enough, has to add up over time, because it has to fill the well of gate 48. It has to lead to depth and profundity. Everything about the logical understanding process is about repetition. And that means that you have to be able to see over and over again that something needs to be corrected. And also how that correction can be collectivized. Well, before you can make an attempt at what that correction is going to be. 18s do not have the solution. They know what's wrong or what's right, what they like, what they don't like in the moment, but they don't have the solution as to what to do with it or how to experiment with it to improve it. And that's not their place. The solutions come next in gate 48. In the detriment, we have the patriarch, whose rigidity guarantees deterioration, the potential to refuse to correct. In the original I Ching, the conservative authority was always the father figure. I mean, it's just that was the time it was written in. In a woman, it operates through what is yang in her. In other words, it's not really the mother, the father. It's sort of the male, female, but in terms of energy. So we're looking at the yin and the yang. And the mother can operate here every bit as much as the father. This is the potential to refuse to challenge authority. And because they never challenge authority, they only complain about it. However, it shows up in their life. Well, my husband's an arse, he does this, he doesn't do that. They complain, but they never tell their husband. Everything about the first line of gate 18 is about whether there is the power there to challenge authority or not. Now, there's not much energy in the logic circuit. The throat has no direct access to a motor. On the other side, in the abstract collective, there is a direct link from the throat to either the solar plexus or the ego. It's got a lot of energy. The logic side, it doesn't have that. It is considered energy poor. The 58 in the root at the other end of the channel, it's under a lot of pressure. It's a pressure center after all. It's also one of the motors in this circuit. There is so much pressure on gate 58 to give their energy to the collective process. You know, the 18 can be aware that it needs to challenge what is incorrect, but it also can be aware that it has no power of its own to do so. So if you're going to challenge authority, it's important that you seek out allies, someone who is going to back you in your challenge. United we stand, divided we fall, that kind of thing. That's the message that comes through here. To really mount a challenge to the established order and the collective requires a collective challenge. If you can find a solid foundation where the authority does not have to be challenged or corrected, then you have a pattern you can trust. And that's what logic is looking for. It's looking for that perfect pattern, one that doesn't need correction. It's a perfect pattern that can be safely projected into the future. And that's where we can operate from. Logic is very much future-based. The person on the detriment side says, my father's father was right, and so I'm right. You know, this is really establishing the authority. They were right. There's no argument here. The potential to correct gradually is saying, maybe my father wasn't always right. Let's, bring in some gradual change and see what happens. This is the first line, setting the foundation. If it is deeply disturbed, then the whole hexagram is going to fall apart. So the sun in gate 18 is grounded in the earth of gate 17, the gate of opinions. The first line is called openness, and it's the same logical circuitry as gate 18. It has that same focus on seeing patterns, seeing what needs to be changed. The whole circuit can be very critical, which is obvious, I guess. It's correction and judgment. It's going to be critical. Just having the same circuitry can be a huge support for the Sun-Earth combination. You could say they speak the same language. They have the same values. They have the same basic keynotes. When we're operating correctly and the circuit is operating correctly, we are going to have opinions about what can be corrected. We are going to be grounded in our opinions about what authority needs to be challenged. With gate 18 looking for allies in its process, gate 17 is a good place to start. The moon is still in gate 62, the gate of detail, the preponderance of the small. And of course, we have a challenge. No, we don't have a challenge. Well, we might have a challenge, but we have a channel, the channel with the earth being in gate 17. This is the channel of an organizational being. It's logic. We're in a very logical time at the moment. So once we have all these wonderful details and we have opinions that are based in fact and logic, we can express them. The 62 is a throat gate, and so is gate 56, which is where the moon goes next at 1650. Here we can express our understanding through stimulating stories. We're still in the collective circuit. 62 and 56 are mirrors to each other. The 62 is logical, the 56 is abstract. There is maybe a making sense of the logic so that the collective can understand it. 56 leads us to another logical activation, gate 31, still in the throat, expressing leadership, taking those logical facts and opinions and the details and the stories and using them to influence the collective, to lead them into the future through communication of their vision for a new direction. If you watched or listened to the overview for gate 18, you will have learned that the sun and earth are the same gates as the nodes at the moment. This is adding a little extra emphasis to the transits that we are exploring, some extra focus as to the direction and movement that we are experiencing in regards to challenging authority, correcting the patterns, that kind of thing. So please do have a listen if you're interested in that and you haven't already checked that out. But that is us for today. I will see you again tomorrow for the second line. And yeah, until then, as always, love yourself. I love you. I'm so grateful for your presence here. Gate 18 has been pretty amazing to go through. I'm so grateful that you're here and happy that you're here to go through it with me. And I do hope you find some value in this. And yeah, so go gently. Love yourself. I'll see you tomorrow.